Good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ted Fagel from Rotary Club of Poipu Beach on Kauai, and I'm honored that I'll get to serve as our district governor in 2024-25. So first, I want to start out by thanking everyone. This is a great turnout this morning. Thank you for following instructions and showing up this morning for our grant qualification process. We have this tremendous opportunity in the Rotary Foundation to give and contribute and have an impact all around the world with the money that we donate. But we also have this great mechanism that part of that money comes back to us after 3 years' time and provides a way for us to increase our impact in our local communities. And you may be aware that in Hawaii, we return that money back to our individual clubs to use for you to determine what kinds of projects will have the greatest impact in your communities and for you to execute those projects using those funds from those district grant monies. But we do have a requirement as we accept those monies and we use those monies, and that's a grant qualification process, which is why we're all here this morning. And Rotary International requires us to do this every year. And it's a way for us to ensure that we are good stewards of the money that's coming back to us from the foundation, that we're going to use it wisely, and that we're going to use it with appropriate financial controls in place. And so that's why we go through this every year, and that we have a requirement that 2 people from each of our clubs around the district complete this grant qualification training, and then your president-elect and your president will execute a memorandum of understanding, which we'll hear more about this morning. So thank you again for your time and attention this morning, and looking forward to what all the great projects will be that you come up with in the coming year to do here in our home communities. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ted. We've got a lot of information on the screens, and it's because we're going to use this as, you can use this as some resources later on, but this will be on the website on the right-hand side under quick links. We have the recordings of the sessions, and you can refer back to this presentation and also look at the slides. So today's learning plan, and we're morphing from training to learning. Our learning plan today is an overview of the grant program, the grant funding, where does the money come from? And you heard a little bit about that from the prior Zoom, how to qualify, grant agreements, and the resources available. So I'm putting up front the key takeaways to remember that the use of these grant funds is to be used for the purpose that was described in the application that was approved. Okay, we do send your information from your application, the club application, to Rotary International, and it needs to be approved by Rotary International. Do not spend the money until you get your grant funds in your account. Need all the grant funds done by used by May 31st. If you're not using the funds, it's returned to Rotary District 5000 so we can deploy it to another project. Disbursements need 2 people to authorize. Grant funds cannot be carried over. Qualification checklists need to be sent in by January 31st. You have a separate grant account, and all disbursements come from the grant account, and you keep the documents for 5 years. So these are some of the things, the issues that come up every year. And so we wanted to put it right up front. These are really important things to remember. The grant timeline, and okay, somebody's in the waiting room, Benson. So want everybody to hear our presentation. So the grant timeline, and we do have this in our policy, that in the fall, we do the grant management training. And don't forget about the training, but also we have updates during the meetings for president-elects, and we'll have this update in the spring training too. The documents that we need to be qualified, we'd like that by January 31st, 2024. And we'll go over what you need to do to get qualified. Then the final grant report for this year is due by May 31st. Okay. And that's so that we can get the final grant report to Rotary International. And they can approve and close out that grant, because we're not going to be able to get our new money until we close out this year. The grant applications for next year are due June 15th. So President-elect's boards, committees need to kind of work ahead of time to see what kind of projects you want to do for next year. And this is because we need to submit that grant, our district grant application, to Rotary International by around July 15th, so that we can get that money back to you to start your projects. You know, some of the projects are for schools, and they last year Lahaina Luna needed the money before school started for band instruments, and so that's why we were really trying to push to get that money to the clubs to use already. Okay, and so the money gets out to you as soon as we get the money and we see your grant statement, your grant account statement with the cash in there. We'll distribute the funds to you so you can start your projects. Okay, because you don't want to start your project and use that money until you're approved. Okay, everything goes to the grant email. So it's grants@Rotary D5000, and we keep and store all of the information at that that Gmail. Okay, and then all the forms can be found on the website at the grants page. Okay, and I'll show you where that is later on. But here are the different types of grants, and Del went over the 3 types. We have global grants, and so the minimum is 30,000, and it goes up to 400,000. Okay, and those are for international projects. District grants are within our district. You can use that for an international project if you wanted to, but these are projects that your club comes up with. They're smaller scale, short term. They've got to be done by May 31st this year, or the year that you're applying for, and then you get 50% of the DDF, or district designated funds. Disaster funds, maximum is 25,000, and the programs of scale that Del talked about. So it's a $2 million grant. So big projects, like the first one was to help with malaria. And these are given out over 3 to 5 years. The one for malaria, I think it grew with other donations up to, I think, 6 million. So these are really huge, impactful projects that the programs of scale are. So here's our stats for the 21-22 year: 27 million in district grants, 8 million in disaster response grants. That's not including the Ukraine. I think the Ukrainian was 15 million. Right, Del? 15 million. Then we have the global grants, 73 million, and then the programs of scale is 2 million. So that was what happened in 21-22. They're still trying to work out this year. So here, the funding model, all of the contributions go through to these funds. Okay, and you designate, does it go to annual fund, endowment fund, the polio plus fund? But the only ones that come to us would be your contribution and the spendable earnings from the endowment fund, and these are to the share system, comes back to our club. And every year, the endowment fund, depending on the market, could be 12 could 12,000, 15,000, but it adds to our pool that we can use for our grants. So the share system, annual fund share, 50% to the World Fund, 50% to DDF. DDF, District Designated Fund. Some of you may remember that it was a GSE grant, simplified grant that, simplified grant that we had before. So now it's DDF. Okay, so you saw this picture before, the annual share fund donations. We Rotary uses it 3 years. It comes back to us in 3 years. We do a little bit different things with that 3-year calculation, but some of it goes to World Fund and some of it comes to us for DDF. Okay, so our allocation this year, 23-24, was 143,000. So this is money that your clubs donated to the share fund. We got it back. And so this money is going to 14,000 for Polio Plus, 2,000 to RCIS, and RCIS is Rotary Centers for Peace. Wait, what is the RCIS? International Service Studies. Okay, that's what the RCIS is for. And then you have 68,000 for district grants, and then 71,000 for the global grants. Okay, so that's this year's allocation. So the Peace Center is really important because, you know, peace is the cornerstone of our humanitarian efforts, and the Peace Centers really help to develop these leaders in that arena, and that is why we support the Peace Centers. So for grant funds to Rotary projects this year, we have 141,000, right? So if you look at the donations we had in the past 3 years, these are the numbers for not the past 3 years, but the 3 years that we're counting. And what we do is we take an average. And so when you look at the allocation, you see what your club gave, we average it out, and then we take a prorated percentage from the total pot, and that is what you get for your club to use for your grants. So what we have this year is we have 27 in no match DDF, 40,000 match, 71,000 for global grants. So DDF is 140,000. Okay, with the club match, you got 40,000 that the clubs are using in to match that 40,000 in DDF. We've got match for the global grant, 71,000, and we get 57,000 from the World Fund for global grants. So if we use all of that money this year, this is what you got for projects this year: 310,000 for global and district grants. That is so awesome, and we can do a lot of good with that money. So for our grants last year, we had 111 grants, individual grants, because some clubs put in 5 applications or 3 applications, but these are small scale, short term, local. We had some international projects. I think we had Djibouti, we had Thailand, we had Nepal. Those were DDF money that went to international projects. But we have one amount that we get for the district, and we spread it out with all of your clubs. And you know, again, some of the other districts have a different system, and they have everybody apply for this pool, and then they would maybe only award a few grants. But for our district, we decided that money came from your clubs, and so we're going to get it back to your clubs. We talked about the Charity Navigator system, and Rotary International has 15 years of this rating. And this is important because we get this rating because of how we do our grants. We have accountability. We know where the money is going to. We have openness, transparency, and this is called stewardship. Okay, and this is important because this is why the district, needs to make sure we follow the rules that we agreed to. So the Rotary District has a MOU that we sign as well, and that is why when we say no, cannot, or you know, we can't do something, is because we have these rules that Rotary International has, and we need to abide by that in order for our district to be qualified. Okay, so we do something wrong and we are not qualified, that's going to affect all of us. And that's why we have Laura Steelquist as the chair of the stewardship committee, that, you know, we need to oversee your grant applications, that it is in the realm of what is allowable. And we need to make sure that we audit, we make sure that we see all of the receipts on your final reports. So stewardship is really important to us because we do not want to lose our qualification for the district. Okay. And that applies to global grants too. So if we don't send in global grant reports, if the district was a part of that, we could put a hold on all of our district funds. So we need to be really diligent about that. So we supervise the projects with the MOU. We report irregular instances, and we have an ombudsman that hopefully we never have to use, but the ombudsman is there to oversee misuse of funds or some issues. Okay, and we need all of the clubs to retain the documents for 5 years. So every club should have a folder with your documents. So here's the eligibility guidelines. Okay, it needs to be within the foundation mission. Okay, we're using the grant funds for grant activities that are approved, and you cannot use that money until you're approved. You got the funds in your grant account. So if you're going to change your grant, you can change the amount of okay, so sorry, there's a note up there. You can change the amount as long as the project that was approved originally, you can change the amount, but if the purpose of the funds is changing, you need to do a new application, a revised application, send it into the district. We need to get that approved by the Rotary International before you can start that again. Okay, and that happens during the year. You might find that maybe your original application purpose is no longer valid, so you want to do something more impactful. Okay, so make sure that you're doing the revised application before the end of the year, because we do need to send that into Rotary. Comply with your conflict of interest policy. Make sure that the privacy policy. So if you're taking pictures of children, for instance, or people, you need to get their okay to have their picture if you're posting that on social media or in your websites. Okay, and one of the guidelines is to please publicize that these projects were funded by Rotary Foundation. So when you do your projects, please keep that in mind. What grant funds cannot fund, okay, unrestricted cash donations. So you cannot give a gift of cash or gift card without a restricted purpose. Okay, so unrestricted cash donations. If you give money to a nonprofit and it's for operations, no, that is unrestricted. So it's not eligible for grant funds. Continuous excessive support for a beneficiary, purchase of land, buildings, fundraising activities. You cannot use it for Rotary events like district conference or anniversaries or entertainment. Okay, so these are the guidelines from Rotary International. Okay. Public relations, if they're not essential to public carrying out the project, signs for your projects more than $1,000, and activities that costs have been already incurred. So grant funds cannot be used for these purposes. So how do you get qualified? Okay, by January 31st, we need the 3 documents signed by the president-elect and the president nominee, so the president after that. And Laura is going to go through these 3 documents so you can see how to fill it out and what those documents are for. We need the evidence of your tax filing, so your 990 or your 990 EZ, whatever you file for tax, that should all be done. The deadline is November, yeah. So if you've done it already, send it in, but we need that. Proof of general excise return. So if your club is subject to GE, so any fundraising income is subject to general excise tax. So we need that proof that that was paid. So you do your summary for that year. And actually, general excise tax year should end the same as the Rotary year, which is June 30. Evidence that you do have a grant account, and this is a club grant account. And then you do the training that you're doing right now. And that's why we need your club name after your screen name, because we're taking roll. We need 2 people from your club. Preferably it's the president-elect and another person handling the grant funds. So if your grant fund person is not here, please ask them to review this training, because you want them to comply with the rules. Okay, so we sent all of you the 3 documents for next year. So if you could take care of that soon, and Laura will cover that on how to get that completed. And we need that by January 31st. Okay, and then final reports May 31st. Okay, so the 3 forms that we need are the MOU, the addendum, and the financial plan. So Laura, do you want to go over these 3 documents?
Certainly, I'd be delighted to go over them. And everybody goes, oh no, we're doing this again and again. But as Naomi has explained, this is a Rotary Foundation requirement, because again, Charity Navigator loves the Rotary Foundation, and we want those highest accolades to remain, which means that we need to have everyone who is using foundation funds follow the foundation rules. Okay. And the reason I get to do this part is because it is so simple. All right. So the complicated stuff, Naomi and Dave will take care of. And by the way, I think we possibly didn't get to introduce our overall grants chair, who is Dave Mosdrin, who is filling the very large shoes that were vacated by Mark Harbison. So thank you, Dave, for stepping up to take that on this year. We really appreciate your expertise and sharing yourself with us. So the memorandum of understanding is actually a binding document that the club is signing with the district. The district leadership has already signed a memorandum of understanding with the Rotary Foundation. Okay. And each one of you have this form already because it was sent out to you again this morning. And I recommend highly, don't wait till January 31st to sign it and send it in. You've got it right there in front of you. Go ahead, sign it, get the second signature, and send it in now. Then you won't have to worry about it 5 months from now, and we won't have to chase you. So the memorandum of understanding just lists the club qualifications, which is that, as we have already mentioned, that 2 people have to attend this training. So if you don't have a second person here today, we will be contacting you with an opportunity for makeup, but the makeups are a little harder than just watching this. So let's make sure that we do follow up immediately for this. And congratulations on having 100 participants today. That's fantastic, right? So the qualification is that you have the training. You have to have the club president for 24-25 and the club president for 25-26 sign this form. Preferably reading it would be a good thing too, but what we're talking about is just what we've gone over, which is you are required to have the training. You are required to appoint at least 1 member of your club to oversee this grant process. So make sure that either your foundation chair, your secretary, or anyone in the club is watching to make sure that the grant process is being followed appropriately. You're required to have a financial management plan. The good news is that we provide a template for you, so it's really easy for you to have that financial management plan in place. You have bank account requirements, which you have to have a separate bank account for your district grant funds. The money for the project has to be put into that account and dispersed from that account. And then you have to report on the use of the grant funds, and you have to do what you said you were going to do on your application. So that part is critical. And then you're required to keep these documents, both hard copy and electronically, for 5 years. So I'm going to challenge each and every person on this call to go back to your club, and see if you can find 5 years worth of grant documents. Okay, it's it's not always easy because the person who was keeping them may have left. So try to do what you can now, so that in the case that you are that we are audited by the Rotary Foundation, that we can come up with this. Okay, next. Oh, and just as Naomi said, if your club PE, if you don't have a PE, or if you don't have a PN yet, president nominee yet, this can be signed by the current president, by the foundation chair. But I encourage you to go ahead and get these forms signed as rapidly as possible and sent in to the grants at rotaryd5000.org. Okay.
Also, if the president, the PE and the PN are the same person, we need two different people to sign.
Right. Thank you, Naomi. Yeah. And we recommend your financial foundation chair, or the person who's overseeing your grants chair. Okay. And then that last one that I skipped over was reporting the misuse of any funds. Obviously, that is all of our responsibilities. We hope that it will never happen. But if you see something that is of concern, you need to report it immediately. Okay. Thank you.
Next. Oh, Laura, Sean has a question. If the PN are not, they're not attending, can they still sign this?
Yes.
The forms.
Yes, absolutely. And I know that it's always hard to get. That's why we said another person designated, just because the PE and the PN always seem to be somewhere else on training day. But I would absolutely sit down with them and make sure that they go through this training, because it's important for them to know that. Okay, it's critical that we follow the rules. Now, there is a second form, which is a District 5000 addendum to the club qualification. That's because the Rotary Foundation's qualification just says that every grant will have a separate bank account. And because we have clubs that do 5 or 6 different district grants with their funds, we have amended that with this addendum, which says that we can have one fund, one bank account, which will handle all of our district grants. Okay, so that if you're doing 2 or 3 different projects, the funds for all 3 projects go into that account, that one account, and the funds for the projects are dispersed from that account. For global grants, they still require a different account for each global grant for which you are managing the funds. Most of the time, it is not us. Okay, the financial management plan, again, there's a template there that you just read through and you sign it. It says that you maintain that dedicated bank account. It's important that you get your funds into the account as quickly as possible, your matching funds, and that doesn't hold up you receiving your funds. The funds are already here, and they have gone out, I believe, to like 30 some odd clubs already. So if you haven't gotten a copy of your bank statement showing your matching funds are in, over to Dave Hamilton or to that grants at rotaryd5000.org. Now's the time to do it, and you can get your funds immediately. They are here. So great job that everyone did in getting it so prompt, getting everything in so promptly. Please, the title of your account, you need it to rename it if it's different from this. It's supposed to say the Rotary Club of East Honolulu TRF District Grants Account. And just another statement that kind of flew by a while ago, this has to be part of your, it's a separate account. It cannot be under a club foundation. It has to be a separate account for the Rotary Club of East Honolulu, etc. Okay. Now, all disbursements require 2 signatures on a disbursement authorization form or the check. Banks don't look at checks to see if there's 2 authorizations. So we highly recommend that you use the disbursement authorization form that Ron Young came up with. when he was doing audits. He found that that was missing in a lot of cases. So anytime that the funds are dispersed, please make sure that 2 people are signing that form, and then you will be covered during your audit. You have to retain, you are also required to provide invoices, receipts for the payments that are made, and you have to keep these receipts and all the documentation for 5 years. Okay. So again, it's important that we are trying to just deposit the DDF that comes in. The district gets one big check, okay? And so for the district grant projects, we're trying to get it just deposited electronically or directly into the club account. If necessary, that a check goes out to your club, make sure that that check gets deposited to the correct district grant account immediately. Okay. We've had some checks go missing and we need to know that they're not there. So everybody, if you have submitted your information already and you haven't received your funds, please contact one of us, Naomi, Dave, or Laura, and we will follow up and find out where the funds are. Okay. Be sure that you get your matching funds in. So this is what was on your application that you said, this is the cash that I'm going to put in.
They're not in here. I'm checking right now.
Okay, and you pay those project related expenses from the district grants account. It's real important when you're talking to your treasurer and you're giving them the receipts that you make sure that they're coming out of the correct account. We've had a couple of clubs had to move some funds. So don't disperse anything. This is critical until your application is approved, your DDF is in your account, your matching funds are in your account, and then at that point you will be able to actually spend your money. Okay. And then about 15 to 20% of the grants are going to be audited each Rotary year. And Ron has provided a list of the documents you'll need, which you can use as your guidelines. So you got to have your application, your final report from the year before, bank statements, canceled checks, check registers, paid invoices, and a bank reconciliation. So this is what the auditors are going to be looking for, and you should have all of those readily accessible. Okay.
Laura?
Yes.
On that cancel check, please be careful. They now want the front and back of the check after it's cash. I just went through the audit.
Thank you very much for sharing that information.
And number 2, every time you change your signature card, make a copy of it, keep it, because they are asking for that too now.
Okay. Yes, I just did that for our club, and thank you for that advice, because I just made a copy. So be sure you keep copies of your signature cards at the bank and copies of the front and back of your canceled checks. And then this is the disbursement authorization voucher, which should have the 2 signatures on it. This is on the district website so that you can use it is the easiest way instead of trying to get a second signature on a check. Anything else? Am I going through the application? Or are you?
You can do the honors if you want.
I don't care. I can't see it because I got new contacts yesterday and he didn't adjust the up close quite as well as they were before, but that's all right. I kind of know what it is. So what this is the application is everybody has just gone through this, and thank you very much for getting these in, and that allowed us to get them everything into Rotary International, have them ask the questions and us answer the questions, and then they sent the funds out, and the funds are going to the clubs. So this is due on June the 15th. And you just put your Rotary Club name, make sure you're using the correct form. Because there's more than one up on the website, okay? So that we're asking this year, there's a category that you select for what it will fall under. Because Rotary International is asking us for that on the application. So it's easier if you tell us what category it falls into rather than us having to figure out all of them. Okay. Then you put down what your project is and the people who are going to be impacted by the project. And you feel free to jump in, Naomi, if I'm skipping anything important, right? And the way the project is going to be publicized, because again, that's one of the guidelines, is that the project needs to be publicized. People need to know Rotary is the one that did this, okay? Who will own the whatever is being provided, and it can't be an individual, it needs to be the people who are benefiting. Okay, sorry, not that it can't be an individual, but it needs to be the people benefiting, not Rotary. And then you put down the items to be purchased and the cost. You only fill in the cost column. You do not fill in the final cost column. That's for the final report. Up at the notice, up at the top, you notice there's a check for revised app if you need to revise it, or for final report, so that you can just keep this same form and don't have to fill everything out if you do the project that you anticipate doing. So you're just going to be filling out the cost column.
Mm-hmm. Laura, I wanted to add, you're on this description. The first sentence should be a short description of the project. Okay, because that's what we need to put onto the application that goes to Rotary International. So really succinctly describe your project in the first sentence. Okay, and there's a question about if this recording is going to be on the website. We will have the recording on the website, and we will have the PowerPoint there as well, so you can refer to this. Okay, so let's go to the second page.
Okay.
You want me to cover this?
If you can see it, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. So the second page has the project financing, and this is where you're going to put in how much your cash, your match, the total amount. And so we suggest only putting in the amounts that refer to your grant funds rather than the whole thing. So for instance, if you have a $2,000 scholarship that you're going to give in and your grant funds is only $500, if you put in the whole $2,000, we need to see that cash in your grant account. So we suggest just using the amount of the grant allocation. Okay, and then you're going to sign here, and this is for the president to sign. And then when you're done, you do the bottom part, which is the final report. So that's how this application is filling out. Okay, so yes.
If I can go. Yeah, I'm sorry. Just one other thing is that I skipped over is that there is a person responsible for this project, and it asks for a phone number as well. I think that's on the first page. So that be sure you fill that out. Put somebody's name other than the president's going to be signing it. It might be the president who's responsible, but usually it's someone else in charge of the project. Be sure that person is included so that if we have any questions, we have a person to talk to. Sorry.
Okay, and so we talked about this financing piece and putting your matching, no match. I hope everybody knows where those figures come from. There's an allocation spreadsheet on the district website, and so remember the allocation is based on how much your club gave, and so you're limited to that amount. So your project can be much more than that, but the amount that you're getting in grant funds is limited to the amount that your club has earned based on your giving from your club. Okay, so here is a piece of the spreadsheet, and you can see Ala Moana has no match 1,213 and matched 1,820. Okay, so these numbers go into that application. So here, Rotary Club of Ala Moana, cash is 1,820, same as this number, right? This number, because it's that matching. You have to match the grant amount with cash. Okay, the no match is here. 1,213, and that goes in here. Okay, and then you get the total. And so total DDF for Ala Moana was 3,033. And so that's the amount that the check will be for your grant funds. Okay, so I know this spreadsheet is really confusing sometimes, but that is why I wanted to show you where these numbers come from. And that is what your club is limited to, is the amount of funds that you earned from your giving. Okay. Your final reports, you're going to check that box at the top that says final report and fill in the final numbers. So you send that in, and that is due 2 months after you finish your project, or by no later than May 31st. So that's why it's kind of important to make sure you do your projects on time, so you don't have to give back that money. But you cannot carry over that money, so it's got to be used in that Rotary year. Okay.
Naomi,
So, yes.
Naomi, can you go back to the previous page that had the match, no match figures, right?
Mhm.
And can you just explain how they add up horizontally and vertically? Because I think where people get confused is that they go down this final total column. Where does 3,033 come from? These figures that are on there. So if you can just kind of walk through that like column by column, I think it can clear up some confusion.
Okay. So these are the 3 years of giving. 3 years ago, we take an average, you have a percentage, and you get the percentage of the total pot. So from that percentage, we come up with how much your DDF is. And so 4.4% came out to 3,000. So the 3,000 is divided by this: no match 1,213, match 1,820. So this number is 30% of your 4%. So the total 4% is 3,000. 30% of the 20,000 is 3,000 is that 1,000. So total DDF is these two numbers. Okay, and then your grant funds is down here. So that's how much you get for your grant. So if you go back down to the bottom, it has a total of that column. And sometimes it's a little off because we have rounding errors, rounding things that throw it a little bit off, but that's how you get your numbers. Was that it, Benson?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Everybody got that, right? Okay, good. Well, we'll go over it again later if you don't. Okay, yep. So Daniel, still don't understand that. Okay. Okay, how is the percentage total per club calculated? And from Lahaina is asking, how is the percentage of the total per club calculated?
Okay, so your 3 years of giving that your club gave to the share account, so that these are the amounts that that your club gave. So these are the past years, 3 years ago. Okay, we add this up, and then the total is 13,000. Then we average that on the total. So we have the total amount of giving, we average it out. And so that's how you get that percentage. Okay, so the percentage of the total is 4%. That's how much of total giving that your club gave. And then the 4%, we take 4% of that 140,000 pot that we had. And that's how you get those numbers. I know it's kind of confusing, but we wanted to be equitable, because if we only took that one number from 3 years ago, and maybe it's low because that year you didn't have as much. And so our district spending committee decided we're going to take an average of the 3 years. So these are 3 years from 3 years ago.
Okay, and that 4% is 4% of the total that the district gets. That's what that 4% is.
Of the giving, of the
total
pot. Yeah, the total giving pot. Yeah, 4%. And then we applied that 4% to the pot that we get for grants this year.
Grants, yeah.
So it's complicated, but we were trying to be, the district was trying to be equitable on how to give out the money. So your club gives more in share, you get more in DDF for your projects because that's your money.
Okay.
And the total percentage is not based on your members, it's based on your giving.
Right.
Rich? Muted.
Okay, so Naomi, can you then explain on the Alamo line there where the global grant amount of 3,199, that last figure, where that came from?
So when we get the total pot, the spending committee, Dell, Dave Mostert, some other people, the district governor, they would decide how much is going, but the global grant fund is 50% of the DDF. So one of the prior screens, we showed how that DDF was split up. And so some of it goes to Polio Plus, some to the Peace Center, and then we split it between the district grants and the global grants. And so that global grants comes from the splitting of that pot that we get for DDF this year.
And so how is it determined how much goes to each club?
Oh, that's the same percentage. We use the same prorated.
The 4.4% of the total?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is meant to encourage giving at the clubs, right? The more you give, the more you'll get back. It's as simple as that.
Okay. So just know that you are limited to this amount that you gave for the club. So we went through the final reports for global grants, and thank you, Rich, for talking about global grants. Sometimes when you have that amount, you can use it for a global grant that you're doing. So maybe Danielle has a project that she wants to do, and you're going to use that, and you want other clubs maybe to join you so that your global grant gets up to that 30,000 minimum. We need the clubs to pledge their global grant allocation if they're not doing their own grant to another grant that the district is doing. And sometimes your sister clubs will ask you to put in your DDF. So this pledge form is to be signed by your president and your president-elect. Okay, so this coming November, we're going to ask you to pledge that amount that you have allocated for your global grants to a project. Okay, so you're going to use this form to say, I want to give our grant funds to this project or that project, and you give us the grant number, and then we'll keep track of it. Now, sometimes these global grants don't get funded until maybe the next year. So just remember that if you pledge towards a grant and you're not, and that grant funding is not to the following year, you still pledged for it. So your club should needs to make sure you've got that money for when you're asked for that money on that global grant. Okay, so if you feel that you don't want to keep it in your club account because you might spend it or you might forget about it, you can park it in the district foundation, and then it'll be available when that grant comes through. Right, Laura?
Right. But
Okay.
right now, let's not do that because the foundation is a little bit occupied. Okay.
Well, yeah, but the grant, this pledge form is not due till November 1st. Right. And yeah, it's usually the end of the year that if that grant the global grant hasn't gone, you haven't been asked for the money, that's when you might park it in the foundation, right, if you need to. Sometimes you can just write the check to the Rotary Foundation and give it to the club that is managing that global grant. They can hold it for a little while until that grant is ready to go. So just know that the money is going to TRF, so your club will get credit for that donation to that global grant. Okay, so make sure you keep a copy of this letter, because when it comes time for that money to come to the club that's doing that grant, we might have to remind you that you signed this pledge, and make sure the PE or someone from the board knows about it, because if that money hasn't gone that year, then it's going to be the following year. Okay, so it's the commitment is there until the grant is approved, funded, or canceled. Okay, so what's the difference between a district grant and a global grant? Global grants, 30,000 minimum. District grant, no maximum, no minimum. So it could be $150 or it could be more depending on how much your club got. The funding from a global grant comes from DDF, cash, and the World Fund, whereas for district grants, it's just the DDF and your club matching. Global grants, the application is online. District grant, the application is you fill it out and send it to the district. No area of focus for district grants, and you can have a partnership or not, but for global grants, you have to have a club in that country that you're doing your project with. You have to partner with them. And then sustainability, measurability is required. And then for scholarships, Rotary has certain guidelines for global grant scholarships. And then for scholarships for your district grant, for HRYF or your own scholarship, your club determines how much and who gets that money. So remember the areas of focus. These are for global grants, the 7 areas. Requirements for global grants, the district has to be approved, qualified. The club needs to be qualified. Same kind of responsibility, same forms. The 3 forms that you fill out will cover the global grants as well. Global grant, if you're the lead club, you need a separate global grant account with a global grant number. Okay, and new this year is if your club is doing a global grant, you need to do the grant management seminar on the Learning Center, and we're going to keep track of that. Your club needs to do that training and pass the quiz. Okay, so the district website, when you go to this URL, this is the link or the where you can find this page. And on this page, you'll find the 3 forms. The allocation spreadsheet is right here. The grant application is here in case you need it for revising things. And then later on, when it gets closer to June 15th, we'll put up the new application for next year. Okay, so a lot of information on that page. Okay, so oops, sorry. That was the district website. The Rotary International website has a learning center. So when you go to the learning center, which is learn.rotary.org, the grant management seminar is here. So you can just Google that or use this link here. Okay, and then the zone also has an expert hub section where if you want information on the foundation or other things, they have that place where you can actually talk to someone. We have upcoming webinars that foundation chairs and presidents and your clubs might be interested in. So international service, global grants, how to do a global grant, the foundation planning. So the foundation chairs, we'd like to get you on a Zoom on September 23rd to kind of plan what you're going to do for World Polio Day and for Foundation Month. And then the projects fair is October 7th. This is where you can find out what grants are available for global grants, and then you can do your pledge form. Then November 18th is a deeper dive into Rotary projects. And then this is your committee resources. Takeaways again is about the use of funds and not carrying over to grant funds and doing the qualifications. So we have some questions in the chat. So let's go through some of the questions. Laura, if you can help me on this. So hopefully the grant the allocations was clear, but if not, then please reach out and we can kind of walk you through the steps. And David Dinner says, don't panic. So it'll get more clear when you get deeply involved, and there's always people to help you explain. Thank you, David. And what is a PE? Sorry, a PE is a president-elect. So this is the president next year, president-elect. Okay, thank you, Ted, for replying on that one. Then let's see, you can rewatch this recording. We'll have it up pretty soon, probably tomorrow. And the slide deck will be on the webinar page and also on the foundation page. And then drinking from the fire hose, yes, David, but we needed to keep it to an hour, and I'm sorry, we got just 1 minute more. And then fundraising 101, Benson, we can look into a fundraising 101 course. There, I think is going to be one at the PETS training for the president-elects. And then what other questions? Brittany, you have a question?
I do, yes. So thank you, first of all, for all that information. Highly appreciated it. I wanted to just ask a quick question about other grant systems that aren't necessarily from the Rotary Foundation. Are we, as I look through a lot of other grants that may be applicable to some of the projects that we're doing as a club, are we eligible to apply for those grants as a Rotary club? Are there any rules specifically around that? Because a lot of the requirements are right that you have to be a 501c3 to be applicable for some of those grants. But I was kind of wondering about what the mechanisms for doing that would look like, and is that allowed? Has that been done before?
Your club can apply for grants from other entities. For instance, our club applied for a grant from AARP and got awarded. The Honolulu Club applied for AARP and they got $175,000 to do a fitness center. Okay, so your club can apply. Sometimes it does need to be a 501c3 to apply.
Yes.
Right, David? Wasn't that an awesome project from AARP?
Yeah.
But if they do require a 501c3, that's where you can use the Rotary D5000 Foundation. That's why it exists, to be that 501c3.
Rotary D5000. Okay.
And just know that if you're using the district foundation, that your club is responsible for that, all of the fiduciary responsibility, not the district foundation. So they're
going to write the letters.
They're going to scrutinize that project.
Yep.
Yeah.
David Dinner.
Thank you.
Well, that, just to mention, that project started as a $5,000 grant from the AARP and ended up around $300,000 by the time we finished. So it got a little bit out of hand, but it's going along and we're going to get it done. But what I wanted to say was, if you wanted to build something or do something and you need global grant money for it or district grant money for it, and it's more than the amount that's allowed, can you pay for part of it yourself and get the grant for the rest? Like making a sign that's more than $1,000.
Yes, your club or other people can add to your project. Global grants are certain restrictions on building things, so you just need to comply with whatever the rules are.
Okay, but it can be more expensive than the amount that's allocated, like $1,000 for a sign. Sign might be more than that. We can pay for the balance of it, can we?
Yep, exactly. Just like scholarships, the club will put in more money for scholarships than the grant money.
Right, right.
Going back to going back to Brittany's question, for Rotary grants, there's the district, there's a disaster fund, but that has to come through the district. I don't think there are Rotary grants that are available outside of what we talked about. Adele, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so if you have any other questions, you can stay on from the Zoom, but we're 11:03. So thank you very much for joining us today. And just a reminder to put your club name on your video screen so we know that you attended this training.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to address Molly's question really about, can local clubs collaborate their DDF funds to do a project? And the answer is yes, absolutely.
Yeah, sorry, we didn't cover that, but you need to do separate applications because every club has their own allocation.
Okay, good one, huh? Wow, time flies when you're having a lot of fun. So any last words before we wrap it up? If you still have questions or need to talk more about this, please stay on. We just wanted to close the meeting up right now, this part of it, but feel free to stay on if you want to. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot. Nice job. Yeah, you're right. It is the fire hose and it is a lot of information. So that's why we have to continually work on getting this, not just getting it out, but actually sitting with people and walking through it, because it is a little confusing. So okay, who's got the next question, for those of you who want to stay on and have a question, raise your digital hand and you can get up there. Oh, Deborah, I see your hand up. Go ahead. Your real hand.
Hi, we had allocated money for the Fiji account project, and we haven't had a request for our matching funds yet. Do you know when that's coming through?
You know, I think for Fiji, they didn't need your money because we had to download size that. So you know what? Let's ask Arjun, because he was the one who kind of did the calculation for Fiji. So we'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Deb. Hey, anybody else have a question or a point of confusion? No. All right, cool. Okay, Barry's got your hand up. Barry, go ahead.
Do we need to open new bank accounts each year for these grants, or I assume that the prior year bank account should be empty, and therefore we could probably still use the prior ones?
Yes.
Please don't empty it down to zero. Okay, leave some money in there, because that happened to us and they closed our account. We had to open a new one. It was a big mess. So yeah, usually there's just one big transaction rolling through a year. Obviously, if you change officers and signers, those signature cards have to change, but please don't open a new account every year. Wow. Yeah.
So just
you can use
an easy number to remember, like $100 or $200, and leave it in the account. And then the next year, when you're doing your new grant, you just continue that over to the next year, so it stays open. You don't have to open a new account every year.
And second part of that question, we only need one account for the district grant, but for global grants, we need one account for each global grant? No.
Only if you're the lead. If you're contributing to someone else's, you don't need to do a separate global grant account.
Oh, that's where I'm getting the confusion.
Yeah,
we were the lead last year since Mark Harbison was. Okay, perfect. Great, thanks.
It actually would be the international lead usually. So it's not the domestic one. So if you're the host global grant club, you're the global grant club that's in Hawaii, but your project is being handled by an international organization. They are the ones that are responsible for to have the special account for that global grant, not us as the local one.
Yeah,
even better. Thanks, David.
So it's whoever's handling the money.
Okay, man. Here, this is the fun part. Anybody else got a question, thought, comment? Okay. Sometimes yeah, go ahead. If you
I was just going to say just what everybody has mentioned several times, but there are lots of people who are willing to come to clubs and do presentations either through Zoom or in person if you're meeting in person. That will sometimes help the rest of your club members instead of trying to go third hand.
Oh, we got some people that don't have their club name on their video screen. So phone number 494, please let us know your name and club.
Yeah, we'll try to capture it if you can get it in the chat. Put it on there. So for those of you that are confused about the actual application of this, I know what happened to our club before we finally got it is that we just had to get Naomi on the phone and go through it line by line so that we knew what every line was and every cell on the spreadsheet was. So we're able to do that for anybody's club. So if you're at that point or need to have that help, please reach out and we can walk through that with you. Like I said, there's a bunch of people on here who can help you. So yeah, please reach out. It's important that we get that.
And if you've kept reports from the years previously, they're always good to use as reference for the ones you're doing this year, except for the dollar amounts.
Yeah. Yeah, we figured that one out just every year.
Yeah.
Change the amounts, right? And of course the narrative and stuff, but
And
always
it's not
kept it.
if you kept it, it's refer to the ones that you do have.
Yeah.
Which you should have.
Because you have to have them for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna stop
Okay.
the recording. We can still go on, but I'm gonna stop the recording. Okay.
Okay.